Minnesota Vikings fans, welcome back to the Living in Loserville podcast, Purple People Eaters edition. And, we got a lot to talk about on the positive note for a change with the Vikings. They went on the road. And when you're going on the road, yeah, the Giants aren't some kind of great club. Okay, we were supposed to win the game, and they won the game. They won the game clearly. So they got the job done, right? We definitely had some positives offensively that we haven't really had much of. Well, we've had positives on offense, just not passing, right? Obviously. So we're going to break this whole Giants, victory on the road, like I said, down. Offense, defense, a little bit of special teams because we definitely needed some of that. Um, and of course, we'll preview the home game coming up this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully, the Eagles fans don't come here and bring AA batteries to throw on the field because we know them in Boston used to do that back in the day, especially in baseball. Sorry, Philly fans. Actually, I'm not sorry. Anyway, so we'll definitely, we got a big game coming up. 2 years ago, I remember, a year ago, we had to go on the road against Philly in a really tough game that we pretty much handled them late in that game with the run. We felt like, okay, we really needed that win. We definitely needed that win last week with the Giants to get over that, 2-2 mark. Now we're 3-2. We're feeling a little bit loosey goosey. Obviously, the offense opened up. Um, Cousins and Thielen squashed their beef on the podcast, which maybe that's why Diggs wants to get traded. He's like, "Hey, can I get on the podcast, Kirk? What do I gotta do? I gotta be a Minnesotan to get on your podcast?" But anyway, obviously the offensive line, both pass protection, pretty damn good pass protection. Cousins got hit plenty of times if you actually look at it, but early on it was really good in the line really opened up. It was kind of interesting. We had the pass to create the run this week, which is something we haven't been able to do, and I feel like we're going to have to do that next week as well. But like I said, we're going to break it down defensively. Man, that front four with Barr blitzing was really something special. The secondary making plays all over the field, especially except when they're getting penalized. And that is one thing that really stands out for the defense this year. Dumb penalties. They played pretty damn good. The first quarter, not great, but other than that, they've held pretty tight. But like I said, we'll preview that Philly game. Also, we figure, if you're a Vikings fan, you're a Minnesota sports fan, there's a potential, there's at least a percentage of you that are into the Gophers. And hey, right now it's a good time to be into the Gophers. 5-0. They got a nice win where they just took care of business. Finally, this year kind of lived up to their potential that we've seen, especially that offensive line. So we're going to break down that game, for the Gophers' perspective, 5-0, getting that win 40-17 against Illinois, and then a big game coming up at home against Nebraska to try to go 6-0. So we'll definitely break all that down. If this is your first time listening to the Living in Loserville podcast, obviously this is a Purple People Eaters edition of that Living in Loserville podcast, where we're talking Vikes, and Vikes with a tinsy-wincy bit of Gophers. You can find it on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It's under the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast umbrella. And so you can find it right there. It streams live at archives. However, it's not only there. Not a lot of people just check it out on Blog Talk. You also got iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Player FM, TuneIn, Spreaker, all over the place. We're also part of the Grueling Truth sports podcast that can be found everywhere, including iHeartRadio. In fact, through Siri or Alexa, you can go through TuneIn or Spotify to find either one, right? So we're all over out there. In fact, head on over to the gruelingtruth.net. That's the gruelingtruth.net. They got a great sponsor over there, betnow.eu, with the promo code TGT, as in the Grueling Truth. And real quick, with all these sports in the fall kicking in, you probably need cable, okay? Maybe you've cut the cord and you're not happy, maybe you're thinking about cutting the cord, try AT&T TV Now. It's a streaming cable service. They do have a 7-day free trial. However, the plans start as low as $50 a month. That's HBO included. No annual contract. The cloud DVR. Stream it anywhere. Try it out. AT&T TV Now. It's something that I use myself. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the co-host, Aaron, to see how he's feeling on a Monday afternoon, which was a beautiful day, by the way. It's still shit. I mean, 8 o'clock at night, it's still 57 degrees. Going to get all the way up to 70 on Wednesday. Last little bit of summer. And just like, how it goes here in Minnesota, high of 38 on Saturday, possible snow. I don't know why I had to do that to you and say, how you doing? Hey, by the way, it's going to snow on Saturday. But unfortunately, I just did. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. So snow on Saturday sounds really good with Nebraska coming in to play the Gophers. I was kind of hoping the weather would take a nosedive, but I didn't know the forecast until you just said it, so that's exciting for me. And as far as the Vikings go, I'm a little confused, Chris. We've got the Vikings that lost badly to the Bears. We've got the Vikings that beat the Raiders soundly. And last night, or yesterday in London, those Raiders defeated the Bears. So that's a little 3-game thing that's just kind of making me scratch my head a little bit. I'm not sure what to make of that. What do you say about that?
That's an interesting factoid. It just really it's I try to get that in. It's weird because are they? They're not a great team. The Bears. They're not. Now they beat us up. Scoreboard. We could say whatever we want, but we thought they got their ass kicked regardless of what the score was, and it's really strange how that works. Like, it just shows you they're just at times can be very good, but they're not. It's like that front seven are really just 4 players and freaking the linebacker, the stud. That's really basically what they got in us, dude. I don't know what it is, but isn't that ironic how that happens, dude? It's just kind of crazy, man. This game started out a little like, let's see how we're doing here. We had a chance against the Bears. There was a couple of third down penalties instead of getting off the field on some of those long-ass drives we talked about last week in that Bears loss. If you could just call it a loss, that's kind of a nice way of saying it. But we had a sack on third down really early in that game. Harrison had illegal contact. Just one of those things. We also dodged a bullet with the deep pass. Maybe some of that was really good pressure we had on. But that was a couple of things that stood out. Another thing that stood out positively anyway early for the Giants, not that we're a Giants podcast, but it was a tight game to start out. Even though our offense looked good, it still was a pretty tight game from a couple of mistakes that we made offensively and defensively. I thought Jabril Peppers was making tackles all over. I mean, twice he hemmed up Cook, which is not easy to do. But I'll say this, to come out right away looking sharp with Cousins, we had that play action rollout going, and it was really, really good to see the connection. We talked about the little beef between Thielen and Cousins, even though this is really 2019 for you. Like, and we don't mean to sound like, old men get off our lawn, but first of all, the quarterback has a podcast. Usually you have a show, but okay, you got a podcast, no big deal. So that's not out of the realm, but you have Cousins on there saying, hey, man, I'm sorry, dude. I should throw you the ball more. My bad. On a podcast midweek when everybody thought, we were in big trouble if we lose the game, especially us. We talked about that as well. Like, hey, we really need this win. It's a weird game, but we really need this win now that we're 3-2. And when you look at that Packers game, could be 4-1. I'm not saying coulda, woulda, shoulda on anything with that Bears debacle, but to come out early, Aaron, 8 for 9, 113 at the end of the first quarter. Cousins hits Thielen on that 3rd down and 4 play, perfect pass, 10-zip after a nice drive that got us on the board as well. They had them rolled out. They were just moving the ball well. What'd you think of what you saw early? Because that's kind of been our issue early, has just been getting the ball moving in these 3-and-outs and whatnot. And we didn't have to do it with Cook having 42 yards early.
No, we didn't have to do it with Cook. A lot of quick passes, kind of establishing rhythm. I thought that was maybe something that they looked into for this week, and it seemed like they got into a rhythm fairly quickly, and were able to move the ball. Then Cook did pick up, and they started getting some rushing yards. He didn't really break a big one, but he had some 10, 15, 20 yarders, and it was pretty good. And then piggybacking on your Thielen Cousins topic, there was Diggs. Diggs is getting fewer targets. He's not looking as happy as he was. I don't know if that's the targets, and he just lost $200,000 in a fine to the Vikings, and he's starting to roll back his comments. So I don't want to forget him in the mix of all this. Maybe Thielen and Cousins have their thing going on, but Diggs is pretty talented to just kind of leave sitting on the side there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe he's like, "Hey, dude, can I get a fucking invite on the podcast?" And also, like, he came out and he was quote unquote sick, and he didn't do a good enough job of proving he's sick. I don't know what it was. He did say there's truth to all rumors, and what he meant by that was people are calling for his services, but he did not request a trade. I've heard that in a couple of different sources, not just Diggs, so I do believe it. Plus, his leverage is not that good right now because he got that extension. You know what I mean? So it's like he really can't do much unless he just doesn't want to make money, which I don't think he will. So we'll see. We'll obviously have to keep an eye on that. But just early on, a couple of things stand out. We did give a 52-yard kickoff return. That wasn't, that great. Rhodes looked like he thought Harris may have the help behind him. The way that play looked up, the way Zimmer was talking to Rhodes, it seemed like that was probably Rhodes, on that touchdown pass that we gave up. You don't see Rhodes giving up many touchdowns pass in his whole career, let alone yards. So there was a couple of things that stood out. Had a holding call in the gate, a couple of first down plays. Thielen made a great catch. Irv Smith, actually, that was that holding call. He made a great play. It didn't go down in the books as a catch, but when he caught it and had that flip and he landed with the first down, I was like, okay, we got a baller. This kid's a baller, dude. He'll do a flip for us. But that looked cool, but obviously it didn't do much. But Cousins, yeah, sure, he was going to Thielen heavy, who had 5 catches, 105, with 3 minutes left the first half, after having only 2 catches the week after. But he was spreading the ball around. He had 5 different receivers very early on. There was another negative, I guess, even though it was such a positive day offensively. There were 2 different snap issues, and one of them made us late for a play to get a first down. I think that was on the first one where Cousins got the snap, but he couldn't quite get it all. And then obviously there was that one fumble too. So that was a little bit of negativity. And then obviously, just in general though, when you have an 11-play drive, you get some points. You got an 11-play drive on your next drive, 98 yards, Aaron, 10-0. Then it was 10-7, but then we came right back out of field goal, forced a punt, and then we had another nice drive. Unfortunately, Cook fumbled right at the goal line. It looked like he was trying to maybe start to reach it out a little bit. Got a little loose, like Walter Payton at times, like a loaf of bread, carrying that ball like a loaf of bread. That kind of sucked. To go all that, to have another drive and thinking, okay, we're going to get it to 17-7 probably. Or I'm sorry, 20-7. It's looking really much like that. But now the defense stood up, and that's where the team aspect comes into play. I think it was the very next play. Yeah, it was the very next play. They got a safety. Barr got in the backfield, And to turn that into, another 9-play drive, kind of quick strike drive, and get up 18-7, how are you feeling at half? And like I said, the way they utilize the screenplay on both sides, sometimes they set up almost what looked like to be a double screen one way or the other. Obviously, it was really going to go one way, but it looked like someone was available just in case. I loved what they did with just the sheer amount of screenplays. And sometimes, dude, our edges, especially the blind side, just can't block that well. So why not? Okay, they're coming at you. Fuck it. Why not try to run a screen? Even if you only get back to the line of scrimmage or you pick up 3 yards with Cook, that turns into a first down, which turns into a 20-yard pickup.
Yeah, if you execute the screen passes with Cook, I mean, that can't help but be successful. He's such a good runner in space, and you really get it out there to him, and with a couple blockers in front of him, and you could do anything with that. And I was feeling fairly confident going into the half. I was a little bit down with the fumble by Cook. I was like, oh God, here it comes. The inevitable slide is coming. But then, like you said, defense stood tall and got a safety, which was pretty good safety. I think they rushed from the middle. Barr got in there first, and then Harrison cleaned it up, and it was nice to get those 2 points. You would have liked to have 7. So going into the half, I was fairly confident. I think the score was like 17 or 19-10 or something. What was it? Something like that.
18-7, and then it was 18-10 right away off their first drive.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, you couldn't help but go in confident because you knew the offense was moving the ball. And that's really the whole thing for these games is if you want to see the offense move the ball because defense, they might give up 24 at the most, So you want to, generally it's in that 10 to 17, maybe 21 points that defense will usually give up. So if you can get to a point where you can realistically look at 24 points on offense, I think you're going to look at a win. And so I was thinking fairly confident going into halftime, and second half sure proved to be something worth being confident about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And especially, they had a 15-play drive that lasted 7:25 on the clock. And that's 7 minutes is like a Georgia Tech triple option type drive from the second yard, the 2-yard line going all the way or something. And a lot of that had to do with these freaking penalties. And some of these defensive penalties for sure. Like Rhodes' horse collar didn't seem like he had the horse collar, but he had the nameplate, and that's a newer rule. The nameplate, and okay, that's fine, whatever. But we had a couple of ones where you're like, are you serious, dude? Especially we were talking about that one where it's near the goal line and Rhodes is covering a wide receiver. That's what he does, right? And the guy, it's not a straight go into the, just a straight line coming right at you. And Rhodes was playing 7 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he got in the guy's way. It had nothing to do with that. The guy was running a route. He had to at least somewhat bite for the route to make sure the route wasn't going there. It was right by near the goal line, like 5 yards from the goal line. Dude just ran into him on his route. So that was ridiculous. And also, how many times do you see that field goal attempt Linville Joseph penalty where he got on him too much? He pushed him over too much, or like I haven't seen that penalty called in a long time, and I was at work and someone told me what the penalty was. But yeah, that one really, I was like, so what happened there? The center can't be touched too roughly, or like what happened there? Did you between the Rhodes one and the Lindell Joseph one that kept that play alive? Now, luckily, we sacked them and they ended up, having to kick a field goal anyway. But what the hell was, or actually a turnover on downs? I'm sorry, but what the hell were those two plays? And we talked about this off air. Like some of these calls, it was feeling a little Green Bay-ish.
Yeah, the Rhodes call was bullshit. I mean, there's no other way to really state it. Rhodes just happened to be there. He's in the route. Rhodes was trying to figure out what he's trying to do, and dude just ran right into his chest. I suppose if that was somewhere in like, your own 30-yard line, wouldn't be called just because it's not so compacted in the red zone.
Sure.
But Yeah, that was just baffling to me how you call that call. And there was a few calls like that. I don't want to get specific on all of them. I think you've mentioned a lot of them, but yeah, it just seemed like the officials gave the Giants every opportunity to stay in that game or to get back in that game. And fortunately for us, they couldn't do it. And then I think 2 weeks in a row, Chris, we've had that center infraction on special teams. I think against the Bears, there was that
I
call as
must have
well.
missed it then. I must have
And
missed that. I must have fast forwarded that.
you
So
know,
can you help me out with
I
that?
really,
I'm struggling.
you might want to Google it because I don't really know. I feel like it's got to be something where you can't impede the snapper. So obviously you can't jump over him because Kendricks was getting that call a couple years ago because he was
Right.
good at jumping over the center. So
Yep.
we know you can't do that. And I think you have to allow the center to go through some motion before you get on him. I mean, that's my guess.
He's got to make a football motion, a
Yeah,
football move.
2 steps in a football move or something like that. He's got to have 2 feet on the ground.
Yeah, did you have control of the ball though? We don't even know. So who knows? Well,
Right.
Okay.
So I think it has something to do with the timing of when you can hit the center. He's got to come out of his snapping motion. I think that's what it is. And I think maybe he just jumped a little too early. You know how Everson gets that encroachment foul every game because he just comes off the ball so fast. And a lot of times you're like, he's on time, but to the refs they think it's too soon. So I think it's one of those calls where if the center looks wonky, then probably he got hit and they're going to throw the flag. But yeah, I think one happened in the Bears. I could be wrong, but I think one happened in the Bears game as well.
I must have fast forwarded that little part, thinking, yeah, great, sweet. Just I'm going to the next play. Okay, well, thanks for helping me out there. I was really troubled by that. Still am, but I'll live with it. But then we really started. We set up the pass to run, and run we did in the second half. In fact, at half though, 19 of 22 for 278 and a touch from Cousins. You don't really see that in the first half from many people, especially this year though, stat wise out of Cousins. But a 41-yard run, like you said, it was kind of like take a little, and then we got a big one from Cook. And I noticed Klein was back in there. Josh Klein was back in there, and he led the way on that one, no doubt about it. And then Cousins to Thielen on another nice little touchdown. We talked about defensively, too many penalties. I'll say this, that Trey Waynes, we mentioned this, how that I think it was a 37-yard pickup. Trey Waynes definitely, he may have tried to get his head around, sure, but he was holding them. So we're not going to be homers to the point where Trey Waynes definitely, got a pass interference there. That's no big deal. But defensively, you had the offense going. Then you started to get the ground to pound. And the turnovers on downs, 4th and 2, Hunter got his second sack. 4th and 12, defense holds again. Hughes made a little play, knocked him down. I think Daniels, although his stats don't look good, I like the way he stepped up in the pocket a couple of times. And then you had Barr jumping that route for the interception on a 4th and 2. That was a great catch, by the way. And, I mean, you had Barr shining. You had Daniel Hunter shining. Harrison Smith is everywhere this year. I felt like, I don't know if he was a little minorly injured last year. Felt like he took a half a step back last year, which still puts you in the top 5 for his level. But still, it just kind of seemed a little shaky last year. And when I mean shaky, just not an all-pro season. But, man, he is everywhere and was everywhere in this thing. And if you look at the run-pass ratio, 34 runs, 27 passes. Sign us up for that. But when you look at that second half, okay, they got a field goal. Next drive, long drive, turnover on downs. Another long drive, turnover on downs. Then an interception. Ended the game nicely. And we got out of there pretty much unscathed. Looked really good. Just overall, man, any last thoughts or players that kind of stood out for you or moments that stood out? Whatever, offense, defense, knock on wood, we didn't miss a kick. We were kicking the ball through the goalpost, although that first one was shaky as hell. But it was nice to see that, too. We what do you have, like 4 of them? 3 of them? I don't know. But either way, it was nice to see those field goals go through.
It was nice to see the field goals go through. And they're looking steady. You're not getting as nervous, knock on wood, that you usually get. He's been hitting his field goals. And, you really mentioned most of the players I was going to bring up. Just the guys that we pay: Barr, Harrison Smith, Everson Griffin, Daniil Hunter. They all made plays, and Barr especially was everywhere. He's in the backfield. He made interception. He was good in coverage. He's everywhere. And Harrison, he's everywhere this year. And I want to say that has something to do with Sendejo being gone, although he's coming back to town this week with the Eagles. I feel like maybe Harrison had to, maybe keep an eye on what Sendejo might have been doing. Of course, that's speculation, but it just seems like he's a lot freer to do what he wants to do with Harrison there. And so I guess that was a good change at the safety position. And then Everson and Daniil really got off the ball and formed pressure. And Daniil had a couple good plays that weren't, I guess you would say, stereotypical of the defensive end position. He was, tackles for loss. He had some good coverage plays in there coming out on screens and stuff. So I thought that they all played well defensively. And, the Giants, they got a rookie quarterback. And so I guess you got to see what he looks like next year. But I think they did what they had to do this year to have a great game, and they really did.
Yeah, I think that there is some potential there. And just look at some of these stats throughout the game. You look at last week, 6 points, 40 yards rushing, only 182 yards passing. And at the time, I think it was 7 sacks, but it says 6 here. And when we're only at the 13 mark for points, we already had 50 rushing yards, only 1 sack, $167. I talked about that first half, 2 catches, 6 yards for Adam Thielen in the first half, or for the whole game, I should say. First half, 6, 121, and a touch. So obviously they were trying to get the ball to him as well. Diggs got in there as well for some good plays, just to kind of go over the top with this time of possession. 1931 to 834, 35 plays, 306 yards to 20 and 99. A lot of that was that red zone defense as well. Second half, though, they were definitely moving the ball. We went over all those turnover on downs. It was 15-3 at one point for time of possession. But like I said, the defense came through. Delvin Cook had a $124 on the ground, 86 through the air, too. A 210. So that's his best all-purpose game of his career, which is always good. And then just a little something on Daniil Hunter since he's been in the league. Let's see. So Hunter is tied for age 25 in NFL history for Hunter. Still with 3 games to go before hitting the age mark. I'm sorry, he's 24. He has 45 sacks. That's currently tied with Robert Quinn. And he's got a chance to go past Derek Thomas, Freeney, and Suggs just in this little time. There's a little bit of note that sacks weren't collected till 82. So it actually puts him second on that list, or no, third on that list. But Hunter, obviously just looking at him, dude's just a specimen, obviously. But he is just, for where we picked him, this guy, and we already have him extended. This guy, his deal is going to look like we might as well give him another extension here soon, because his deal, by the time, in a couple of years, when that cap keeps going up every year, if we can, if next year Cousins deal that last year looks pretty good, I think it's going to be down to like 9th in the league for quarterbacks. The Hunter is going to look like, are we paying him? It doesn't feel like we're paying him money to play. So that's good. That's fucking huge, man. Hunter is just so fun to watch. And talk about passing that torch. Although Everson Griffith, the way he's chasing down those screens, he doesn't look like he's ready to pass the torch. But yeah, man, it was just a good all-around game, a game that they needed to win and looked good doing it, no doubt about it. Now, obviously, we had a game coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles. I almost said the 76ers. I stopped short. Couple of things that stand out to me. They do have some injuries, no doubt about it. Now, if you look at their games, not last week, because they played the Jets. Okay, so that's an easy win. But if you look at the game, win or lose, they're in these games. They're tight. So they beat Redskins. The Redskins haven't won yet. Oh, no. Knock on wood. Oh, why did I do that? Why'd I do that? Why'd I even say that? Why'd I even say that?
I was kind of waiting for it. As soon as you said
Oh,
Redskins, I was like, oh, God, here it comes.
son of a bitch. And, for those who don't get where we're going with this, they're on the fucking schedule and they haven't won yet. So, you know that what that means for Loserville followers out there. Anyway, I'll get back to my point. 32-27, Philadelphia won that game, but tight. They lost to Atlanta, team we beat pretty handily, 24-20. Detroit, they lost to them 27-24, then beat the Packers last Thursday 34-27. Point is, they're probably going to be in this damn game. I think that's my overall point there. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, at home, we're a different team. The defense needs to play pretty good early. We need that out of them no matter where we're at, but especially this type of week. But you look at right now, it's Monday, so who knows? But, they do have some guys out. No doubt about it, Philadelphia does. Deshaun Jackson right now is listed as out. That's a huge, deep threat. Even Darren Sproles, he's questionable. They got Jerrigan, who's a pretty good defensive tackle. He's out. So we'll see how that goes. As far as right now, Mackenzie Alexander and Kentrell Brothers are out. We got Gideon is questionable. But otherwise, we're looking pretty damn healthy when it comes to that. Our defense is definitely playing better than theirs. They also, but here's the thing though, Aaron. I think just like last week, we're gonna have to run, or we're gonna have to pass to set up the run. Because if you look at them, Philadelphia has given up only 63 yards. We're giving up 88, and I think we were like fifth or sixth. They're giving up only 63. However, they give up 288 through the air. Okay, so. And they're not lighting the fire on offense either. I mean, they're doing better than us, but some of that has to do with us, only scoring 6 points. But even after that, like I said, they've played pretty much every game tight except for the Jets, but it's the Jets. So I feel like this is going to be a tight game. Vegas has us favored by 3. That's home field advantage. The over-under is 44. Wait a second. Have we played Wentz? Yeah,
no.
We didn't play him. Did
No.
we play him last year? Did he play?
No. Yes. No. I don't.
That's a lot of no's. It's like, damn.
Yeah. Well, initially I thought no.
Okay.
Initially I thought no, but then I know Wentz went out last year. I'm just trying to think what part of the season he went out. I'm going to say that we haven't played Wentz yet.
Okay,
because I feel like there would be a lot.
Your take on this game in general. I'm going to look that up real quick to see what in the hell we're talking about here.
It's funny because I'm right with Vegas on this. I'm thinking it's going to be close right up to the end. I know we're at home. I know we have a lot of things going our way, but it's Philadelphia, and they're doing Philadelphia things right now. They're winning the games that you think they're going to win. Philadelphia's always a solid squad, and you're never really going to run them out of the building. So I like what they're doing. Defensively presents a challenge to us. They've got a good front 4 and a good front 7, actually. So I think it's going to be tough to run the football. You're right about having to pass to run, and I think you're just going to have to pass for most of the game. I just think it's going to be tough to run on them. I could be wrong, but if you pass it and you open it up, you could break some run stuff, which is what you want to do. But I really feel like it's going to call a lot on Cousins and the receivers on this one. Be a good game for Diggs and a good game for Thielen. I noticed we're working in some of the new kids, Johnson, and you see Treadwell out there a little bit again. We thought he was gone again. So.
Good call with Johnson, though. He had 4 catches last week, and all of them seem important, didn't it?
Right. I'm just thinking, are we getting some guy ready to take over for Diggs? I hope not. I really don't want to see Diggs go anywhere. He's one of my favorite Vikings. So I hope that whatever is ailing him at the moment, he can figure out and get back right again. So, yeah, Vegas has got 3 points. I'm thinking some in the order of 30-28, last-second field goal type of win. I really hope it doesn't come down to that, but I'm really feeling like it's going to be a close game. In the NFL, like I said earlier, with the whole Bears, Raiders, Vikings fiasco, that
Right.
Eagles are kind of caught in that too and the Redskins and all those other teams. It's kind of been up and down. You can't really get a handle on anything. So I think we're going to get a better game than we want up here. I think we win 30-28.
Better game than we want. I like how you put that. And even though both of us didn't think we played Wentz yet, we did last year.
Okay.
I don't remember it.
Hmm.
Huh. Yeah, we did. We did okay. He had a decent game, but we just
What I
kind of wore him
remember
down.
from that game is Linval with the fumble return.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's the big thing I
And
remember from that.
then we wore him down with the run. I think that they made the score close, but it really we started wearing him down with the big back that's not here anymore. So So they've put up 32 in a game, 34 and 31. They're off 34 and 31. So they can score. They can score with the best. But obviously, when you look at Ernst, the tight end, without especially if Jackson's out, now you're not going to stop him. We know that. But you got to contain him. He's having a hell of a season. So that's going to be key there. We got to slow down Ernst, man. That guy's a stud. Makes a lot of catches. He's already got 29 of them. And I don't know if that's updated all the way, but we just got to come out and our defense can't give up those long drives. And if they do, they better hold them to field goals or turn them over on downs like they did this last week. But that's something that's a couple of these games now. They come out and they just haven't. Those 14 scheduled plays or whatever the hell they got, locked and loaded. For whatever reason, yeah, you're going to have some success or whatever, but for whatever reason, I don't know. It just seems like they're having a whole lot of success with that at times in some of these games. So hopefully we get that wrapped up. And I'll tell you what, if this game comes down to us having to kick a field goal to win, not only I'm going to have my eyes closed, right? But I'm going to have my ears closed. I'm going to just be like, no, see or hear no evil. I don't even want to know. And then I'm just going to open my eyes and just see what the hell. I don't want to see the ball in the air. I just don't want to see it right now. I'm just not ready. Just not ready yet. I need time to process these last 4 years of garbage kicking. Knock on wood. We talked about it off air. We're going to just start calling this podcast the Knock on Wood podcast because that's how you feel as a Minnesota fan, basically. But I'm with you. I think that the Vikes will win. I think it'll be ugly. I think it'll be close. The over-under, what I say, 44. So, yeah, I'm thinking 27 or 26-23. That's where I'm going with it. And, man, it would be nice to get to 4-2. And when you start to look at this stretch here, we gotta win our games at home. We know that. That'd be give us 8 wins. Then at least 7 out of 8, and then you just trickle a road game here and there. Obviously, we just got a road game. We got a tough road game coming up at Detroit, who has a good defense. So we need that one probably out of a lot of these road games, even though, we got Seattle, we got Kansas City. Yeah, I know all that. Dallas, yeah, I know, but we can't go 0-3. But let's get this one first, shall we, before we start thinking about the future. So we're on the same page. Vikes will move to 4-2. We hope, knock on wood podcast. Now, anything else that you want to mention before we get to these Golden Gophers, 5-0 Golden Gophers there, sir?
No, let's move on to the Golden Gophers. Big game, big game. And a lot of people don't think it's going to be a big game. It's on prime time, so it's showing you that it's going to be. You got 5-0 Gophers going against Nebraska. I think they got a loss, right?
Yeah, they're 4-2 actually.
Okay, so they're 4-2. But I mean, if you look on the timelines, Fleck and Frost came in the same year, or was Frost a year after? I'm pretty sure that was the same year.
It was a year after.
A year after.
But either way, yeah.
And they seem to be mirroring programs. Nebraska beat us badly last year, 53-28 on just ran the ball at us, and we couldn't stop it. Long runs, kind of reminds you of that Maryland game, but you're down in Nebraska in the Sea of Red and all that. So it was ugly, and we lost Annexted at the half with a spleen injury, and he hasn't been back since. Morgan's ascended to the starting quarterback position. So a lot is kind of going on this game. We have Nebraska at home, which will be a change You brought the weather forecast. That looks good to me. I wanted it to be cold, although Nebraska does run the ball a lot. They're not, but Martinez, anything you can do to slow them down, that'll take that'll help. And then you got to win this game. Go to 6-0. We were talking off air about how the 3-1 in the next games would really be great. But I really think this is a hurdle game. You really got to beat Nebraska this year. They beat you last year, so there's a revenge factor. You get the mirroring programs. You want to stay a step ahead of them. And it really help your season, which is, really shaping up to be a really nice season. Now, let's flip that side of that coin and look at if we lost to Nebraska, not the biggest loss in the world, but a win would be a huge win. So it's kind of lopsided, but you really got to win this game. If you win this game, you're looking at Rutgers the next week. You're going to 7-0, bringing in Maryland. So it puts you in position to really make a stamp on the season and a stamp on the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, you got to line it up for November. We know those last 4 games are going to be interesting. Northwestern, one of those games that will probably be tight, even though they don't look that good this year. They're kind of in their down cycle. A couple of years from now, maybe even next year, they'll be better and be contending, on that side of the Big Ten. But before we go ahead, we got to talk the victory. And victory, it was 40-17. I really liked how we put our foot on the throat this week, especially coming off. It was kind of funny, Morgan coming off that, record-breaking Big Ten percentage stuff, right? I think he's 4th in the nation now in completion percentage, or efficiency, I think it is. He throws a pick 6. And it's like, whoa, okay, dude, what's going on? He actually – most of it actually was a lot of that rain and wind, and we had about 4 drop balls. You look at his 9-17, and this is what's shaping our offense with, and hey, the defense played good too. We'll get to them. They didn't give up a touchdown, if you think about it. And that's what's crazy. Like, the fact that we had such a cushion, all that weird shit, like the Georgia Southern shit that, we were just about to get a cushion. No, they took it back. No, they took it back. Like, we had 2 touchdowns last week that we just gave to them. One off a scoop and score and one off a pick 6. So that's a little troubling. But you look at Morgan, 9-17, could have been probably 13 of 17 with the drops early on, but still had 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So it's not like we were screwed, and that really shows the fact that we can pass the ball and they're just a threat this year on the outside. Those skill players are just ridiculous. But we did get a pick back. Winfield got it back. It was 7-3. Defense really stood up from there. Didn't let much happen at all. Got a touchdown. They missed a field goal. Got another touchdown. Ended the half 16-10 because they did have a field goal in there. But I love the way we started. Came out, had a quick strike drive, touchdown. Held them to a 3-and-out. Got another touchdown. Held them to a 9-play out, though. Then, unfortunately, it was kind of a weird, once again, that fumble touchdown. All of a sudden, it's 30-17. You're like, okay. In years past, they're getting back in this game. Years past, I shouldn't even say that. At Georgia Southern, they're getting back in the game, right? Nope, wrong. 8-play, 4-minute drive puts us up 37-17. Turnover on downs later in the game. Got it to a field goal with a nice 5-minute drive when we needed it. I just love the way they just kept going. A lot of times when shit's going bad all of a sudden, old Gopher team, a lot of these games, those first 3, they wouldn't have won, back, not long ago, actually. So I love what I see out of that. And Rodney Smith, 24 carries, 211, biggest day ever, had a 64-yard touchdown run, or maybe it was a touchdown run, but long-ass run, 8.8 a clip. And then you had Brooks, who looked a little rusty last week. He was finishing plays by bulldozing people. It gave him 16 carries, $111, 52 carries. When you give the ball to your running backs, or maybe, like this week, Martinez, whatever, a lot of times if you're running it 52 times, you have a running quarterback, right? But 52 times, 332, 6.4 a carry, dude. at 52 times to get 6.4 is really ridiculous, man. Overall, I'm going to give my take on Nebraska too, but what are your thoughts on that victory, man? That offensive line got back to what we thought they were. They are who we thought they were.
Last week we saw them come out passing and effectively on those slant plays, RPOs, and then this year they flipped the script, or this game they flipped the script on it and come out running well. So Rodney Smith had a great game. Shannon get out there, get a touchdown, get his feet wet. Now we're rolling two experienced Big Ten backs with an offensive line that looks like it's coming together pretty well. And we're kind of progressing through that little bit of the season now where it's starting to keep going, keep building on it. So it was nice to see him get a lot of rushing yards. That was the most I took out of that game. And having defense play so well, not give up a score. We got to cut the turnovers, and we've got to cut the turnovers and the touchdowns after them. I mean, just because you give up a turnover doesn't mean you got to give up a touchdown. I know some of it's the way the ball bounces, especially with Tanner. It seems like when he gets hit throwing the ball, that ball goes backwards and for a long way.
Yeah,
so
it's like he's getting a little Cousins in him.
Yeah, and it was fun to see him come out. After he's nearly perfect the game before, he comes out, boom, throws pick six. Shake the cobwebs off, and then comes back in and plays the rest of the game fairly well. The drops were interesting. I thought that was an interesting point that you brought up. You don't see that a lot from these Gopher receivers, but I guess you throw the weather in, maybe some nerves, whatever. It's homecoming, whatever got them. They fixed it up, and they caught the ball at catch that Johnson made where he tipped it to himself. That was something. But at the same time, I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Good. You caught the ball, yeah. And then because he had a drop or so before that. Yeah, he just couldn't seem to catch the ball, but I suppose he had to tip it to himself, and he was fine. So defensively, they played really well. And, you want to see – I mean, that's my concern now is, like, can they stop teams? And we're going to find out against Nebraska if they can stop a decent offense. And I'm not saying that Illinois doesn't have a decent offense, and I'm saying that these other teams didn't have it. I know Purdue has a decent offense when they're playing well, but I don't think they necessarily played that well this day. But we're going to find out this weekend. I hope the weather's cold again. That'll help us. I'll let you go on with your preview of the game.
Well, yeah. This one's going to be a high-scoring game. They got it at 52.5. I think it goes over. All right, get ready. You're sitting down, right? You're sitting down for this? Okay. So the Gophers are a 7.5-point favorite.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that hurts a little bit.
When's the last time we're playing a Big Ten opponent? Actually, last week, I should say. I just stymied myself right there. We are 14.
Feels like a curse.
It was a 14 spread last week. I thought they were crazy because like, dude, Illinois almost beat Nebraska. Like, it's not going to beat. Well, I guess I was wrong. Defense did tighten up, though. I'll tell you that. Didn't give up a touchdown. But, yeah, dude, 7.5, and you're thinking, man, it's just one of those things. You can't get it out of your head. It's a psyche
it doesn't
thing.
sit well
it's
at
mental. No, it's just like, and if you're looking for, I mean, we know Zimmer here loves to us against them. I mean, you bring that point spread in to the locker room and say, hey, these guys, the Gophers, what the hell? You seen a Gopher around here? I don't even know what do they do. But yeah, it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a lot of offense. We have a better offense than them. They run the ball at a better clip. Most of that has to do with Martinez. And by the way, I said this on the college football show too. I'm sick of a dude named Martinez from Nebraska. Jeez, it's been 3 of them now in the last 7 years. Like, no offense, but Nebraska's white as shit too. How they keep popping out Martinez's there? God dang, man. I'll tell you what, these guys, the last name Martinez, I want to recruit a Martinez is what I want, dude. Because we got to pay these dudes back. Because a couple years back, they had a Martinez just do it all type guy. And they got him again, dude. I don't know, but I'm sick of the last name Martinez playing for Nebraska, beating up on our Gophers. That's what just a little rant there. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure Mom and Dad Martinez did a great job with them. I'm not ripping them, but damn it, we're just sick of getting it like that. But this can be high scoring. It's going to go over. I'm going to go with, what did I say, 52 and a half? Yeah, so I'm going to go with a 30. Oh, boy. 34 to 30. 34 to 30. Is that too high? 34 to 30 I'm going with. It's going to be back and forth, but the Gophers get it done and move to 6-0. The first time they're 5-0 since 2004. I'm not going to bring up anything to do with 2003 and 2004. Anything to do with Michigan. Oh, shit, I just brought it up. Anyway, that's what I'm going with, sir. It's going to go over. It's going to be high scoring, maybe both in the 30s. But I'm going to go with the Golden Gophers to sneak this one out. Martinez is not 100%. And we all know a lot of football players are playing not 100%, but he's actually slightly below what the normal not 100% is. So that's a positive, and we just got to send in some sort of freshman that has 2 more games left and just send them right at Martinez, dude.
So that 7.5 points feels more like a curse than a blessing at this point. You just want to stay away from any kind of favorites and just go out and play and win. So I differ from you a little bit on the game, although oddly enough, our final score is oddly close. I'm saying 34-16 for the Gophers on this one. They win 34-16. I see a close first half with the Gophers pulling away in the second half. So I'm going to go 34-16 Gophers and beat Nebraska, send them home, and go on with our season.
Man, and they're coming off, 2 weeks ago they got their butt whipped by Ohio State, which a lot of people do, 48-7. They did beat Northwestern 13-10 in an ugly game. They run the ball statistically better than us, but they also give up a lot more rushing yards. So maybe we could play ball control, the thing they'll want to do with us. I'm just a little afraid of Martinez. Go figure. But man, I like your score better. And man, if they can win,
I'm seeing this is what I'm seeing, and you can tell me how off base I am, but we kind of had a bunch of training games in the non-conference, right? So different offenses. We played Georgia Southern, which is an option threat, which is the basis of what Nebraska is doing. I know they're out and doing other things in spread, but the basis of their running games coming off that option. And so we've seen it. We saw it last year with Georgia Tech, and so we've seen this root of this defense a few times now. This squad has. So I feel like that's not going to be such a problem. Obviously, tackling. You got to tackle. You got to not turn the ball over, all those things that you always have to do. You have to play fundamentally strong. Don't give up big plays. It's that whole thing. But I just see it being close in the first half. And then I really think there's not a lot Nebraska nor really anyone in the Big Ten besides maybe Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin can do about the 3 receivers we have if they're playing well and catching the ball. And I trust Morgan to get the ball to them. And I think it's going to be run heavy and defense in the first half. And then the second half, he's going to unleash a little bit more of the passing game. And I just don't think Nebraska can keep up with that now. I know Nebraska's got some weapons like Spielman and a couple other kids that they like. But I just, I trust the Gopher passing game a little bit better than Nebraska. And I feel like if we have to throw if Nebraska has to throw, I like our passing game a little bit better than theirs.
And I just would rather you be correct on this one, basically. But that's a good point though about the week to week to week. Then we got that bye week, but we did go week to week to week on completely different offenses. And we now know for the second week in a row that it was vanilla. It was vanilla. It was like the most basic vanilla plays that you could call in those 3 games, because the last 2 games, 38 and 40 in the Big Ten, and it's come a variety of different ways. So that's a good call. That
and it is what's nice most impressive.
Go ahead.
What's most impressive is that we stuck to the vanilla in tight games.
Yeah, I know.
How tempted are you to be like, all right, I got to play that'll win it, but we'll be showing something. And it seems like they didn't do that. They held tight to it and actually managed to win. So I think the most impressive thing was to hold back and not reveal anything through those vanilla games.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And because I remember 2 years ago against Miami of Ohio was a slow game. But he's like, dude, we ran this like a same play 35 times, dude. You know what I mean? So it's like, I hear you, but it's basically like pounding it into these guys. These are the plays we're gonna run. So as far as basic, if we can't just run these, we're better than this team. So let's prove it, even though we only have 5 plays or whatever. So that's a good call, and we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes. Any last words before we shut this puppy down?
No, I just want to reiterate. That's why I jumped the gun on Nebraska previews. I'm just excited for it, man. I think this is the biggest, actually one of the biggest Gopher games we've had here in a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to go back to that season where they beat Nebraska on some random stuff at the end where we stole the ball away from right near the goal line. That was freaking crazy. And we destroyed Iowa that year, got beat by Wisconsin. Otherwise, they would have gone to the Big Ten championship game. But, yeah, I'm excited too, man. No doubt about it. And I meant to say about what you're saying about Fleck hanging to it, sticking to it. That's a good point because another thing is, speaking of Nebraska and Illinois, those are the 2 teams that got, our defensive coordinator fired. And I remember saying this last year too, and I just want to reiterate it. Like, for Fleck to fire a guy who had been with them at Western Michigan tells you a lot about Fleck. Like, passion, emotion, that's great. I got a detachment, but you're not doing it on the field, so you're gone. And that isn't always the case, especially at the college level, because it's not like the president. It's not like a GM in ownership in the NFL. It's a little different. The college, it's just that they fire people differently. You know what I mean? They leave it up to different people. It's not just the GM and the owner going, man, fuck these guys. We'll can them all. That's not how it goes, especially if you got a good head coach. And so I think that says a lot about Fleck in general. And he also let him, because remember, they said, well, we got this system. It's ran through this system. There's defensive schemes. We got all this stuff. And they went away from it. But he allowed the guy to go away from it. But then when it didn't work, he's like, no, shouldn't have went away from it. Okay, we're going to go back to this. Okay, you're gone. So just kind of, I think that's impressive more than maybe a random person that barely follows college football would know. It's actually pretty damn good that someone that loyal has been with him that long, that much success, for him to be like, dude, thing is, we're giving up 55 points a game right now. So go fuck yourself. Bye. All right, let's shut down another episode of the Living in Loserville podcast, Purple People Eaters edition. You guys have yourself, let's go 2-0 this week. Knock on wood, let's go 2-0. You guys have a good one. We'll be back next week. Peace.